next question comes from Betty. She says, some of the needles on my pine tree are starting to turn brown and dropping to the ground. Is this normal? Well, there's a photo of this. And that's the question: is this normal needle browning, or is this something else?
So a pine trees, we're kind of going into the transition. They're evergreens, so they're gonna have needles on throughout the winter. This particular one, I would say, is going to be natural needle drop. We usually get that this time of year, on up into the winter time. Late winter, we'll start seeing more and more of this. But if the needles are turning brown from the inside out, then more than likely that's natural needle drop. Pines will have a 3-year cycle where they'll grow needles for 3 years and then shed that 4th year. Or a 5-year needle. So just depends on what pine you have. But in general, if we're seeing just regular browning from the inside out, that's more than likely natural needle drop. But we have a couple other diseases normally that we'll see in springtime, where we'll see some bandings around the needles, or tips that are browning, or possibly limbs that are browning. But those are issues, other than natural needle drop that we're seeing. Don't see a lot of that this time of year, but normally it's this that we're seeing. But on the other hand, if we're seeing a tree that goes from somewhat normal color to brown or to yellow this time of year pretty quickly, then that indicates something else. That indicates a pinewood nematode. So it's a nematode that's spread by an insect from pine tree to pine tree. And that nematode gets in there from the feeding of that insect. Pine sawyer beetle is what's spreading those, but he or she will go feed on an infected nematode pine and then take it and feed on a non-infected and spread that nematode in its mouth. That nematode will get inside that tree. It'll, depending on the time of year, how healthy that tree is, it could get in there and just take it over and just shut that tree down in a matter of a month. So if you go from green to brown or yellow in a month, you've got pine, and that's affecting the whole tree. You've got a nematode in that tree. And that tree probably needs to be taken out. But if it just looks like this, where you have green on the outside, some brown on the inside, it's natural needle drop is what that is.
So this is normal, but if it starts to spread out to the tips, then
we've got
a bigger problem.
Then we've got some issues. If they on the answer if they question that, that it's kind of more than just the inside, there could be a few other items looking. Well, the first thing I tell them to do is look for oozing of the trunk, look for leaking of the trunk. So, were they damaged to that trunk, whether it's lightning, whether it's woodpecker, whether it's borers, or it could be cankers that have got in. And if you're seeing oozing or leaking or abnormalities of that trunk or limb, then we also may have a problem also in addition to what we're seeing. So cankers, woodpeckers are getting in, could be getting involved, and then borers get into the pines as well. So just kind of be aware, see if we need to dig a little further than just inside natural needle drop, and if we're not, we're good. If not, give us a call, send some pictures in. We can kind of walk you through the other plethora of problems that pine trees have in
it's a good word,
Tulsa
plethora. Plethora of pine problems.
A lot of pine problems, but pines, it seems like, they either do good or they don't do good. They just die totally. So we try to bring in some of these exotic pines, and they have some other issues that we've got to deal with. But for the most part, that's a 10-minute answer for natural needle drop on that question.
All right.